All right, on today's CODE Bet Daily, it is a massive NRL special. We're looking at some player props, game picks, best bets, even some futures. We've got Phil on board. Phil, what are you looking at?
Oh man, I'm pretty pumped up, particularly after that little intro there, James. But yeah, we're going to look at literally every game for round one. On top of that, of course, given that it is heading into a brand new NRL season, we'll look at some futures as well. I've got a massive 5-leg futures multi that we will get to at the back end of the show, and it is juicy.
I love it. Alex, what do you got?
I question why the Dolphins exist and somehow get horse racing into another Friday show.
Classic operations. All right, CODE Bet Daily. It's got everything you need for this weekend for NRL. Big season look ahead. Check it out. It's really good. All right, welcome to CODE Bet Daily. It is Friday, March 3rd. Pinching a punch for the first day of the month. I forgot to do that on Wednesday because I missed that show. God damn it. If I was there, Alex, you'd cop a right hook across the jaw. I'll tell you that much. Anyway.
Good to see you paid attention to the show because I did punch Stats Guy.
This is great. I was listening and I wanted to see some evidence. I like that. This is episode 63 and this is a big one today because it's just an NRL special. Season kicked off last night. I'm your host, Jaymz Clements. I'm the editor of CODE Bet. That's a very good website. It's at codebet.com.au, or your betting analyses and odds comparisons, all the good stuff. As always, joined by one of the pontiffs of punting. It's Alex Donnelly. What's going on, Alex?
Oh, just another day, another show, and Stats Guy's disappeared because I don't know why Stats Guy's in here, to be honest.
I think he's having an affair with his dentist. That's the bad one. And we are bringing in a very special guest, our resident NRL expert, Phil Prior. Phil, what is going on?
Hey boys, good to see you. Normally it's only my missus that calls me very special, so what an honour to have that title.
I like that. Phil does cover off our experty sort of stuff on the site, and he has already launched himself into the season. We've got a whole mess of stuff up on codebet.com.au. We've got Phil's, the awesome preseason futures multi, which was radical. He's got a breakdown of what he expects to happen in terms of the premiership and obviously the Eels Storm from last night. It was pretty fun, pretty wild game, and Phil broke that down, and he'll continue to do so all season, and he's going to pop on, and we'll have an NRL-specific show. So today, all NRL, we'll do the same stuff we usually do, just with an NRL bent. So we'll call this one CODE NRL Daily. We've got player props, game picks, best bets, but we'll go through all of essentially Phil's game picks for the weekend in the game picks section. So we usually set up what we're looking at, but it's all NRL. So let's bloody well get into it. Simple stuff today. Player prop for me. I'm not going to go too crazy. NRL is not my strong suit. I'm just here for my good looks and big beard. I'm going with the big man for the try scorer, Brian Tuo. I love him. He's awesome. And look, if anyone's going to score on this Panthers team this weekend, it's going to be him. I love him. And that's tonight, isn't it, that Panthers game? So I'm getting right around that. And if you want to look at in terms of the actual prices for it too, I think we saw it earlier on BetR. That's going to have changed though. So I've written it down and of course it's changed. What have you got there, Alex, while I'm looking that up?
Yeah, so I'm just going an anytime try scorer, trying to ease into the weekend as well. It's the final game of the weekend at what I think is the best ground to watch football at, and I've been there many times, Leichhardt Oval, as the West Tigers host Gold Coast. I nearly called them the Suns. I'm still in footy mode there from doing the preview this morning, but the Titans, way better than the Suns. David Nofaluma, anytime try scorer at about $1.90, no real spoil in the price there, but he has scored in the last 7 games that the West Tigers have been favourites in Sydney. Where is Leichhardt Oval, James?
That's a very good question. I got no idea.
It's in Sydney. So we're going with that theory. Tins on the Hill is a thing at Leichhardt Oval. I absolutely love it there.
That is something I can get behind. Tins on a Hill, sign me up. We're going to Adelaide Oval. We're going to Leichhardt. Off we go.
Yeah, Tins on a Hill is a good time at Leichhardt Oval. Look, if he scores on the weekend, it'll be his 100th try in the NRL. So, he's got a pretty good record with 99 tries at 181 games. So let's back him to get off the season to a flyer. $1.90, keep it nice and simple.
That's great. My man Brian's $1.55, but I did that's the reason I stuck with that, because the multiple tries at $3.80 for him, and I'm like, if he gets in, let's go again. Why not? Phil, have you got anyone you really like this weekend that sticks out?
Yeah, well, just reiterating, I do like that that Panthers bet you've got there. I sort of chucked it into a same game multi. Brian To'o anytime try scorer into Panthers minus 6.5 alternate line. So 230, that's paying against the Broncos tonight. The thing I like about To'o is after the unfortunate ACL injury to Taylor May a couple of weekends ago, it looks like To'o will most likely get switched back to that left wing. And that's just been so potent over the years. There's no Bill Kickout down there on the left edge. He's gone across to the Bulldogs, but I still think that left edge for the Panthers is going to produce a bunch of tries. Selwyn Cobbo's been moved back to fullback for the Broncos as well tonight, which means that you've got Jesse Arthurs defending out on that side of the field. So I think Brian To'o is going to make mincemeat of him out there. 1 or 2 tries, certainly keen on that. So yeah, that's what I'm sort of targeting as well. The other player prop for this weekend. Look, I think that the Roosters are going to do a real job on the Dolphins in their maiden voyage this weekend at Suncorp Stadium, a stadium or a ground known for fast, free-flowing footy and big scores. And look, I think Wayne Bennett's men are going to keep it close for, X amount of time in that game. But at some point, Sydney are going to pull away. I like Joseph Suaalii on the left, playing left centre now for the Roosters. He's still a teenager, but he's an absolute freak. I like the Roosters 13+ with Suaalii to score 2 or more tries. That's paying $8.40 at Ladbrokes.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that one. I'm jumping on that right now. That's great. Look at this. Selling it, Phil. Selling it. Loving it. That was some great breakdown. In terms of the actual games, though, so we saw the Eels the Eels lose to the Storm last night, and this was a great point that I sort of got put onto by Phil. Is the simple idea is that the Storm just never lose in the first round. What are you doing? And, of course, I jumped on the Eels like an idiot. And
same here. It's good stuff. It's a bad beat to start off the year. Hell yeah.
It's just
one
great.
Game down, and we've already been absolutely shafted.
I'll tell you what, the smartest thing in the world is probably to not go against Craig Bellamy. What are we all doing? We're all idiots. But this is the point where we go through the game picks. What we'll actually sort of do and set up this one is just go through literally all of the games for this round and sort of throw this out to Alex and to Phil. They got any thoughts? Alex is just like, oh, yeah, why not? We'll see what I reckon. But we've obviously got 2 big games on the Friday night, kickoff round 1. And pretty tasty second one, obviously, with the Penrith Broncos. But first off, we're over in New Zealand, I think, aren't we, for the Warriors Knights? So who do you have there, Phil?
Yeah, so look, Warriors are a pretty warm favourite here, $1.49, Knights $2.64. Look, the reality is I think Kalen Ponga for Newcastle, he is the best player playing in this game, and that should keep this game, I think, relatively close. I didn't mind the Knights with 5.5 point start, $1.96 on Better. I have actually in my tipping comps just straight up gone with New Zealand. But look, I think the Knights with the start is a pretty solid bet. So that's where I'm going with this one.
I like it. Alex, you got any thoughts on that one?
I thought New Zealand would win just because Newcastle sort of stink without if Ponga gets sort of shut down and he's quiet. But yeah, not too much of a lean for me in that game. The early Friday night game always seems to shaft me if I have a bet, so I'm avoiding it.
Nice one. Smart operator. That's what they call him. And then, of course, Penrith hosting Brisbane, right? And pretty interesting one. Penrith, obviously, massive favourites. What do you reckon there, fellas?
Yeah, so as mentioned, I like the Panthers minus 6.5 as an alternate line into To'o any time. That's paying $2.30 on Ladbrokes. And I don't know, I like to go and if I think there's a 2-score victor in a game, I like that alternate line because teams are always going to look to hit a field goal or hit that penalty to get beyond 6. So that's why I like chasing that line specifically. But yeah, look, I do think the Panthers will bounce back from the World Club Challenge a couple of weekends ago against St. Helens. I think they'll be really dirty with what happened there. They were really keen to get the win there. So I think they'll come out all guns blazing tonight. I also think something that we probably don't speak enough about is teams coming off a really strong September run the year before, whether it is AFL or NRL. I think there's momentum carried over into the first portion of the following season, when things start to settle down and you get to Origin period and you get to injuries and I suppose just the length of a season, then things can start to take twists and turns. But generally speaking, premiers come out of the blocks really strongly the following year. So I like Penrith by more than one score tonight.
I mean, AFL, that happened with Melbourne last year, right? When they 10-0
straight over 12 in a row, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they lost to Fremantle, the Swans, and they lost like 3 in a row when Stephen May decided to punch a teammate.
Yep. Not great. Alex, your thoughts on Penrith-Brisbane?
Yeah, Penrith will win, and I just have this irrational hate for the Brisbane Broncos. So go Penrith.
All right, Saturday, what do we got? Manly-Canterbury, is that right? That's a much tighter market right now. I think we've got Manly, so the Sea Eagles are just favorited. Pretty short line as well, if that's to be believed. -1.5. Jeez. You can get that plus for Canterbury elsewhere. So I don't know. How are you feeling about this one here, Phil?
Yeah, I think at the line, the Bulldogs are probably the value. But in saying that, look, the Manly at home, they love playing in Brookvale at Four Pines Park, of course. Tom Trbojevic, he's the X factor for the Seagulls. That's not hot analysis. That's obviously just the reality. And I literally bumped into a Manly fan this morning in the driveway, and if Tom's fit and if he's available, I like this Manly outfit. They're one of the sort of, I suppose, proxy contender teams that will compete this year, that are one injury away from complete and utter disaster. But the facts are that round one, they're playing at Brookvale and they do have Tom Trbojevic available. I think he's going to be fine coming into the season. I don't think he needs time to sort of click into gear. So, look, I don't mind Manly. Tom Trbojevic to score a try and Manly to win, $2.60 on Better. That's what I really like. I also like Christian Tuipulotu, one of the wingers for Manly. He sort of finally had a mini breakout last year. He'd sort of spent some time in the lower grades at the Bulldogs and the Roosters before that. 2+ tries, $5.50. I think there's some real value there. So get on Christian Tuipulotu anytime.
Oh, that's awesome. Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to have something on Turbo Tom to score 2 or more tries because he's done it in 4 of his last 5 against the Bulldogs, and I saw $5 for that. So I was like, yeah, that'll do me because, yeah, as Phil said, even me from my sort of haven't paid much attention since I've moved to Melbourne view is Manly with Turbo Tom are good. Without him, they stink out loud.
Dig it. I like that you started stealing my turns of phrase as well, you jerk.
Yeah. Well, mate, that's what happens when people hang out for so long. Like, seriously. If you notice the podcast, we also say noise a lot, and Stats Guy says, yeah, anytime we throw to him.
Nice one. Yeah, this is great. Alex just wants to be like his hero, me. North Queensland
You're not Stone Cold Steve Austin. What are you talking about?
Aren't I? This is where I rip off my top, and yeah. Steve Austin, 316. I start
chug a beer.
Off we go. To be honest, give me like 25 more minutes and we might be sculling beers. North Queensland Cowboys against Canberra. Jeez. The Raiders, the Milkmen, love this. Cowboys, big favourites here. At home. Seems pretty straightforward. How are we feeling about the Raiders? How are we feeling about the Cowboys? What do you reckon in this one, Phil?
Yeah, look, the Cowboys come into this game like at near full strength, coming off a top 4 campaign. I think they're going to be way too strong for Canberra, who have already been hit by the injury bug early in the season. No Josh Papali'i. Xavier Savage broke his jaw a few weeks ago. So they're already shifting things around. They've got a lot of inexperience in the outside backs. I think the Cowboys could do a job on Canberra round one. Them -5.5 alternate line into Valentine Holmes, anytime try scorer, 324 on Ladbrokes. I like the look of that. I think Valentine Holmes is in for a big year as the left centre for North Queensland. Same with Scott Drinkwater, their fullback. So, yeah, I think North Queensland could get out to a really nice start round one in the 2023 NRL season.
They are one of the shorter favourites as well this round. So it's sort of basically everyone's looking at this going, yep, they should smash them. Alex, thoughts?
Yeah, I thought North Queensland at the line. Just even like reading some stuff, seeing all those injuries to Canberra. So I thought Cowboys at the line, which is about 8.5, was a good bet. Also, playing up in North Queensland, start of the year, round one, going from Canberra up there, just the stinking heat and humidity. Like, the ball's going to be like soap. At least North Queensland are sort of used to that, whereas Canberra, not so much. So round one, enjoy getting whopped.
Dig it. Then the big one, Cronulla South. This is a huge game. First thing in the season, Saturday night. It's going to be massive. Cronulla hosting South Sydney Rabbitohs. Cronulla, this is my favourite pick, I think, of this week. So my best pick, I think, out of this weekend is Cronulla, basically head-to-head, because they're $2.60 if you look at that right now on CODE Bet. South are $1.80. Phil, talk me through this. Why are we looking at the Sharks so long against the Rabbitohs, considering that we saw the Sharks, second last year at the end of the season? What do they go, like 18-6? Like, what's going on? Are we overvaluing South Sydney here?
Look, I really like Cronulla heading into the season. In that sort of big futures multi that we spoke about earlier, Cronulla top four are one of the bets in that, 260 to finish top four in the season. But Nico Hines, that's it. That's what flipped the script on this on where the odds stack up in this game. Last year's reigning Dally-M medalist, he's got a calf complaint, so he's out for at least the first round. It could linger and push into weeks 2 and 3 as well, which would be not ideal for my top four calculations. But look, the Rabbitohs are a fellow genuine contender in this 2023 title race. They're pretty fit and firing as it is right now. They do look a fraction light for middle forwards, and I do think that it is Cronulla with the better forward pack heading into this game. I think that raises Cronulla's floor in this game. It denies any sort of blowout as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, look, I have tipped the Rabbitohs in this game. I think it could. I think as I mentioned, that Sharks pack, I think that they keep it tight. They're the team that sort of the pack that sort of wins that kind of arm wrestle, I think. So under the 42.5 total, 288 on better with a Rabbitohs win. So that's where I'm going. Rabbitohs to win, but under the 42.5 total.
Good stuff. Like that one. Even though, it goes against my my vibe on Cronulla. I'm like, it can't be just Nico. They'll be right. Nah, whatever. Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I'm with you, James. I was tipping Cronulla's. I just thought the market had swung too much towards South Sydney, given Cronulla do have a really good record at home as well. So just thought with that, $2.50 was well worth a gamble. But, when Phil knows so much more about NRL than us, it's kind of like, we may be wrong here.
I also just want to say Shark Park, because that's easy stuff for me. I'm a basic kind of dude. There we go. Just go Shark Park and I'm stoked. Sunday's games, we roll into the debut of the Dolphins. This is a fun one. Probably not going to be a fun one for the 87 Dolphins fans. We've got the Roosters heading up. Where are the Dolphins at? Redcliffe, isn't it? That's where it is?
Redcliffe. Although don't use the R word, because the NRL just wanted to call them the Dolphins. Don't get me started on that.
Why? Every other team has
Great
a city.
question.
Why can't the Dolphins?
Great question.
They
Alex.
belong to everybody, Alex. That's why.
Okay.
They belong to the ocean. Off we go. So, look, Roosters are massive favourites. I mean, if you look at COBET right now, I think the line sort of sits around 17.5, 18 points. Obviously very short. Talk us through this one, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can only get $5, 5-1 for a Dolphins win is a travesty. If I'm being honest, they should be paying about 25-1, honestly. And look, this Roosters team, they're second favourites to win the premiership behind the Panthers, and I don't understand why. They're my premiership tip straight up. I think this Roosters team is just unbelievably good. Outside of probably the hooker position, where they've got Brandon Smith as the locked-in starter recruited from Melbourne, of course. I think they're one of the most insulated teams from injury disaster. We mentioned that with sort of the Achilles heel of the Seagulls earlier. You can go through the Rabbits. If they lose Latrell, then it's probably game over. I think this Roosters team can handle a couple of injuries to star players. We will see that this weekend with no Joey Manu, their right centre. That's not going to matter too much against a Dolphins team that on paper might have some experienced campaigners. They picked up half of the Melbourne forward pack, of course, but that they are just severely lacking firepower. I think that the whole operation has been a bit of a shambles from the start. I think the NRL needed to give this team another year to prepare themselves for the rigours of NRL footy. And yes, potentially early on in the season, they have a decent account of themselves before the wheels well and truly do fall off. And there were reasons behind they were put up against the Roosters round one around Arthur Beetson's celebration. But the fact of the matter is this Roosters team are just way too good for this Dolphins outfit. So Roosters 13 plus for mine. Joseph Suaalii to score 2 or more tries, as mentioned. You can get $8.40 on that at Ladbrokes. That's where I like. And Tedesco, anytime try scorer or 2 or more as well. I think he's going to have an absolute field day up at Suncorp Stadium.
I love it. Alex, this is your team. How are you feeling about this first game?
I think they'll win, but it's also the theory of, do the Roosters really care about sort of going, oh yeah, we're going to win by 30 or 40 or whatever. It's like, just do enough to get the job done, no injuries going forward, because also, as Phil said, no Manu, but Warrior Hargraves isn't playing, and Angus Crichton did step away due to some health issues as well during the week. So that's sort of 3 players that we're without. It's just like, oh yeah, cruise through, get the job done, but maybe, it's a 14 to 16 point win, never sort of in doubt. So I was happy to take the Dolphins at line. 18.5 seemed fair, I guess, even though I don't think they're any hope of winning. It's just more Roosters cruise by. But what's the go here with the Dolphins, honestly? Because ever since they've said they're going to come in and do it, and they're going to get this and that, and they've got Wayne Bennett, I could not tell you any of the Dolphins players out of a lineup, to be honest. Like, how come there's no superstars? What's the deal? Like, surely the whole theory of when a team comes in is you throw a bunch of money at someone, be like, hey, come to Queensland. It's warm.
They tried, Alex. They tried, but it turns out the players that sort of hit free agency last year have standards.
So wait, footballers have morals?
Who knew?
They actually wanted to go. They actually are. Most of them want to play at a team that has somewhat of a premiership sniff. Yeah, which this Dolphins team don't. That kind of goes back to my point before, where they just weren't given enough time to set this thing up.
It seems rushed.
And they might be better for it in the long run, like playing this season, heading into the future. But they're debuting an 18-year-old half, Isaiah Katoa, who's an incredible talent. He was brought up from the Panthers. He's been picked over Anthony Milford round 1, but
jeez,
it's too soon. It's frankly too soon. Their other half is Sean O'Sullivan, who's been just a bit of a campaigner. He's come up from the Panthers as well. He was third string to Cleary and Luai last year. And they've got some old heads and some experience in that forward pack. As I said, they brought 3 up from the Storm, but their best footy's behind them. It's just there's not a lot to get excited about in this Dolphins lineup as it stands right now.
Yeah. And also, where's the appetite for another Queensland team, given the fact that Broncos have their massive fan base, Gold Coast is a bit how are you going, and of course North Queensland have a great base. Like, there doesn't seem to be an appetite or a need for another team, because if there's already the inbuilt base of the Broncos, even though we don't mention Redcliffe, why is anyone going to want to support the Dolphins? Where's the money?
There was certainly appetite and room for another Queensland team. It's rugby league is everything to Queenslanders.
Yeah, of course.
There was I didn't have too many issues around that specifically. And Redcliffe, they've got a proud history in the Queensland Cup as well. So it sort of made sense in some ways. But Sean O'Sullivan was interviewed on Fox League the other week, and he sort of stumbled over his words as he said, the Redcliffe area, because he wasn't even sure if he was allowed to say Redcliffe, and that's where this whole confusion comes from. Look, they're in the Moreton Bay area. I don't mind the Moreton Bay Dolphins if they don't want to sort of, limit the catchment to Redcliffe specifically, or just North Brisbane Dolphins, whatever it is. Like, I think you still need to give you can't pull the wool over our eyes. You can't just stick to the Dolphins. I think that's part of this whole, the NRL just rushed this one through without properly thinking it through. And, look, teams or fan bases, they need, that something geographical to hold on to. The people in Redcliffe know who the Dolphins are. That's the reality. And how many fans are they really going to bring in just by saying, we don't represent any location? I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, Alex.
Yeah, neutral observers aren't going to go, I like Dolphins, I'm going to go for the Dolphins. It's more like, if it's the Moreton Bay Dolphins, you know what? I understand where Dolphins live?
Yeah.
In bays. It's simple.
I also hate their kits. Their kits look terrible.
Some esoteric dolphin rubbish. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Last game of the week, West Tigers, Gold Coast Titans. This is another sort of pretty close one. I think we got West at, $1.90 around there. Gold Coast around $2.45 at CODE Bet at the moment. Pretty interesting one for Friday evening there, Phil. What do you think about this?
Sunday evening.
Sunday.
Yeah. So, look, the Tigers are pretty hot favourites in this one, which is interesting because there's a lot of unknowns for them going into this season. Tim Sheen's back at the helm as coach. There's a progression plan there with Benji Marshall waiting in the wings. We'll see how long that lasts before, before it becomes problematic. The reality is, though, for the Tigers, and why I think the bookies are pretty hot on them at $1.57 is you look at their forward pack on paper, and I think it's a top 5 forward pack in the competition. They've recruited Api Coruscant, one of the best hookers in the league, across from Penrith, which is going to be a real problem for the Panthers as the season unfolds. They recruited one of the best edge forwards in the comp, Isaiah Papali'i. They've recruited John Bateman. He's not ready for round one, but Stefano Utoikamanu up front. They've got some absolute firepower in that pack. It's a supreme pack when you sort of compare it to the Gold Coast Titans, who unfortunately lost left edge forward Beau Fermor to an ACL yesterday. So already Gold Coast are light on for back rowers. They do have David Fafita, of course, and Tino Fasua Maliawi is an unbelievable middle forward. But look, I've tipped the Tigers. I do like them to get up at home. Their record at Leichhardt Oval isn't great, but then again, the Gold Coast Titans, Justin Holbrook as coach, his seat is probably hotter than any coach in the NRL heading into the new season, with good reason too. There are just so many selection things that you go, like, what are you doing? Like, honestly, I do like the look of left winger for Gold Coast, Olofiana Khan-Pereira. He is an absolute flyer, and I like him anytime try scorer, but the Tigers to get up. So I've got Khan-Pereira to score for the Gold Coast Titans, but the Tigers to get up at home. That's paying $3.73 at Ladbrokes in a same-game multi.
Nice one. Alex, you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I hope the West Tigers win. They're fun. I enjoy Leichhardt Oval. They're fun without really being threatening. And I've got a few mates that go for them that have been suffering since 2005 when they won the premiership. So go the Tigers.
Nice one. All right, easy stuff there. Best bets for today, tomorrow, the weekend, some futures, whatever you feel like. We've also got Phil's futures multi that we'll sort of just quickly run through as well. Easy one for me. There's a Fox Sports Lab NRL multi that's up on BetR at the moment that it just has that sort of combo of Sharks to win, Cowboys to win, Roosters to win by 17.5. And that's at $6.50. I was all over that. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, oh, yeah, I love it. So I'm on that one. Alex, I think you've got the donation, don't you, for NRL this week?
Yeah, standard Friday donation after Fulham let me down last week. We got all the other legs, which was really disappointing. They should have got a penalty. But anyway, Roosters top 4, Sharks top 4, Panthers top 4, Hawthorn Hawks under 6.5 wins, and Randwick, one of my best bets tomorrow, race 5, economics, 39-21 with Bet365. Let's go.
I like it. Nice one. All right. And Phil, best bets. Have you got a best bet for the weekend first before we actually go through your futures?
Best bet for the weekend, Joseph Swally eat 2 or more tries against the Dolphins.
So aggressive. I love it.
Brighton to win in the EPL. I don't even know what that's paying, but get on.
They were $1.75, I'm pretty sure, because they were one of my best bets this weekend on the show yesterday.
If you want some value, Matoma, anytime goal scorer. He's my favourite player in the Premier League right now.
Don't say that. Stats guy will fall in love with you. He was on him the other day.
Stats guy might just follow Phil around for the next year or two.
Absolutely love some Matoma. I did because I know you guys are into the NBA, and we were just touching on the Tigers before. The Tigers, it's now into year 11 of their finals drought. The Sacramento Kings, they possess one of the longest postseason droughts in sporting history, just about. What is it? I think it's up to 16 seasons now. They look like they're going to end that drought this year. So that's interesting. And the New York Jets, they're not far behind as far as the NFL goes. So the Tigers, they're going to be so fun to follow this season. If they get a few early wins on the board, you're going to start to hear plenty of chatter around that. So that's certainly interesting. Best bets, Joseph Swally, eat 2 or more tries. James, are you ready for me to run through this futures multi as well?
Yeah, this futures multi was pretty cool because you sort of combined with Ladbrokes, you have that sort of futures multi combiner, which was good. So you've got a couple of top 4 ones, a couple of top 8s all rolled in together. And it, like, as you go through it, you're like, hang on a second, how does this miss? And I love a good bet like that, I'll tell you that much. So let's have a look. Take us through it, Phil.
5 legs, nothing surer. One of them is going to screw me over.
100%.
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see how that unfolds. But Sydney Roosters top 4, that pays $1.70. How? Like, honestly, how is that $1.70? I don't know. Look, the Panthers are the only team that the bookies prefer to win the premiership. And as I've mentioned, I think they're relatively insulated from a couple of injuries. So I love that. I like the value of the Sharks to finish top 4 as well. That's paying $2.50. They finished second at the end of the regular season last year. They've got a really strong and deep forward pack, as I mentioned. And even though you've got Nico Hines out to start the season, they roll out Braden Trindle as his replacement. They've got some good young replacements in the halves and the outside backs as well. So if they do have periods of the season where they've got unavailabilities, I think they can cover them and still perform at a reasonably high floor. So I love the Sharks at $2.50 to finish top 4. The Rabbitohs to finish top 8. Look, this one's pretty short. It's paying $1.40. I just don't see a world in which they miss out. Yes, they did struggle without Latrell Mitchell at times last season, but they are a really strong team and they are a genuine premiership contender. So I think they make the 8. The Cowboys as well, $1.45 to finish top 8. Pretty much all the reasons I just listed there for the Rabbitohs, but they're not relying on a Latrell Mitchell either. Their sort of talent is more spread more evenly across their 17. And then Parramatta to finish top 8, not off to a great start after last night, of course, $1.60, but look, they held their own against, again, probably a top 4 contender in the Melbourne Storm, and potentially just got a little bit unlucky there at the end. But I like the look of Parramatta. So that's paying $1.60. So, yeah, look, you combine those 5 legs and it spits out $15.40. As you said, James, how does that miss? How does that miss?
There's no chance. I mean, of course, there's always a chance. Gamble responsibly. But I do love that one. Nice one. That was an awesome breakdown there, Phil. And that'll do us, I think, for CODE Bet Daily's NRL special. Bit of a nice little season look ahead as well. And remember, we'll be doing this each week. We'll probably have a bit of a spin-off NRL show a couple of weeks from now as we sort of get our schedule and recording stuff all teed up. But this was great fun. We'll be back on deck on Monday with the CODE Bet Daily. And, of course, get right around the show. Subscribe, like, review, star it, and chuck us a follow over on all the socials for CODE Bet. You can see all the amazing TikTok gear we get up to. Twitter, IG, Facey, everything. Nothing like being a TikTok star, is there, Alex? How good is it? It's awesome.
Stats guy's still finding a way to get paid for doing all that stuff. He was climbing a ladder yesterday.
Climbing a ladder. Love to see it. But either way, thanks to you, Alex, for your contributions today.
Not sure anyone got anything out of what I said, but thanks.
I did. Thanks for coming, buddy. On you. And Phil, cheers for making your debut today. That was awesome.
Thank you, guys. An absolute pleasure. Looking forward to the season ahead. Get on the Chooks to win the premiership. Get on Brighton this weekend in the EPL, and get on the Sydney Kings in 3.
3? He reckons it's a sweep. Unbelievable.
I also need Brighton to win for my top 6 bet. So come on, boys. Please lift for me at the Amex.
Nice get to Europe, Seagulls. Get to Europe.
Sweet. Well, thanks to Gerald, for always doing an amazing job producing wise. And what do we say, Alex?
Gamble responsibly.
Yeah, do that and jump on Phil's multi.
Go economics.
All right, may all your picks come in. Have a great weekend of punting. We'll catch you in a bit. CODE Bet Daily. Out.